5 weeks ago, because of the work of Director Patel, we learned that the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee and current United States Senator leaked classified information. We learned this because a whistleblower came forward. Whistleblower with 23 years experience in the intelligence community, a Democrat staffer on the committee, said this: they were pressured to leak classified information, which sort of raises the obvious question. Why would the head of the Intelligence Committee, the chair of that committee, who's supposed to be guarding our secrets, why would he be encouraging the leaking of classified information? Whistleblower told us that answer as well. The leaked information was supposed to be used, the leaked information, false information, was going to be used to indict President Trump. Now, the former chairman wasn't the only person leaking information. Jim Comey was also sharing things he wasn't supposed to share. Again, don't take my word for it. The Inspector General told us this.
In a blistering House hearing that left the room stunned, Congressman Jim Jordan dropped bombshell accusations against Adam Schiff, calling out the former Intel Committee chair for what he labeled one of the worst abuses of power in modern American history. Armed with whistleblower claims, leaked emails, and a paper trail going back to the Obama era, Jordan hammered home allegations that Schiff's actions were designed to derail President Trump's first term. Jordan kicked things off spotlighting a whistleblower with over 2 decades in intelligence, who stepped forward, claiming Schiff pushed staff to leak classified, but allegedly bogus, info meant to damage Trump. Let's dive in.
In his report, he said, quote, James Comey violated FBI policy by disclosing classified information. And what was Comey's motive? Same as the senator from California: to sabotage and undermine President Trump's first term. And we know that Mr. Comey's not been shy about what his objective was. In fact, 4 months ago, he told us. Remember this? 8647. Jim Comey told us just 4 months ago. Now, how'd they do it? How did the former chair of the Intel community, the former FBI director, and others in our government attempt to undermine President Trump's first term? 7 weeks ago, because of the good work of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, we learned from another whistleblower, a second whistleblower, that in the closing days of the Obama administration, the intelligence community assessment was changed. On December 5th, 2016, they had one assessment. That assessment said Russia did not impact the election vote count. There was a meeting at the White House on December 9th, 2016, where it was decided, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to come up with a new one. And the new one said Russia was trying to influence election and did influence election, which just wasn't accurate. And that new one is published on January 6, 2017. Let's just show you a few things that took place. I want to show you first this email from Admiral Rogers, the head of the NSA. You can see it was December 22nd. Says to Jim, John, and Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Jim Comey. And he says, I asked my team if they've had sufficient access to the underlying intelligence, sufficient time to review that intelligence. On both points, my team raised concern. Further states, my folks aren't fully comfortable. A few hours later, there's an email back to Admiral Rogers. This one is from Jim Clapper, and it says this: it is essential that we be on the same page and all of us are supportive of the report in the highest tradition of, that's our story and we're sticking to it. We may have to compromise on our normal modalities. This is one project that has to be a team sport. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Compromise on normal modalities, that's a fancy way of saying, that's the government speak for we're going to have to change the rules. In fact, we're not going to follow our own rules. And that's exactly what they did to get the objective they wanted, to undermine President Trump. Now, how did it specifically take place? The whistleblower said that the government officials ignored concerns about discredited information. And what was that discredited information? What was the discredited information that they didn't ignore the concerns about? What did they use, that discredited information? Of course, it was the dossier, the now famous Steele dossier that was paid for by the Clinton campaign when they hired the law firm Perkins Coie, who hired Fusion GPS, who hired the foreigner Christopher Steele, who wrote all this garbage and lies down. that is what was used to change the intelligence community report. And what happens next? What do Jim, John, and Jim do next? They go to Trump Tower on January 6, 2017, to brief then President-elect Trump about the dossier. Again, the Clinton-financed, foreign-authored dossier that the whistleblower knows is garbage and that they know is garbage. And then there's one final step. One final step. Jim Comey leaves that meeting with the president and immediately leaks to the press that they briefed the president on the discredited information. They briefed the president on the dossier and thereby given it some credibility and creating the basis and the predicate for all they did to the president. They leaked false information, they leaked classified information, they used and leaked discredited information, and they didn't follow their own rules, all to sabotage President Trump's first term. And but for this guy, Kash Patel, but for this guy, we would never have known this information. The good people of this great country would not have known what took place 8 years ago when they were trying to undermine the guy elected by we the people.
Jim Jordan didn't just make a speech. He landed a devastating blow on Adam Schiff and anyone who thought their old plays would stay buried forever. In a tension-packed hearing, Jordan laid it out calm but relentless. Whistleblowers, leaked emails, intel reports, and ties to the discredited Steele dossier, all pointing to what he called a betrayal of public trust. He connected dots that opponents hoped would fade away, painting a picture of alleged power abuse, aimed straight at undermining Trump. Jordan pushed back hard in real time. Every dodge or deflection met with evidence and fire. Schiff's camp fired back strong, calling the claims outright false and defamatory, with no charges filed as of late 2025. Jordan drove home that accountability is still possible, praising FBI Director Kash Patel, confirmed in February 2025, for cracking down on child exploitation, nailing predators, deporting violent criminals, and saving taxpayer cash. Jordan's core message hit like thunder. When leadership prioritizes justice over politics, the FBI serves the people, not targets them. The vibe in that room wasn't just about grilling Schiff. It was about fighting to restore trust in America's institutions. Jordan turned the heat on alleged corruption others tried to shield, proving no one, not even big-name politicians like Schiff, can dodge the truth indefinitely. That's the fight we're in.